Have you ever wondered how a total underdog can just show up and completely change the game? Well, today we're talking about one of the best examples out there, Chobani. This is the incredible story of how one man, with a vision from his childhood, took on the giants of the food industry and won. It's a playbook for success that almost nobody saw coming.
And this quote from the founder, Hamdi Ulukaya, really says it all. You have to understand, he sees business as a game, like a soccer match. And this one decision, where to place his product on the field, wasn't just a smart move. It was the winning goal. It changed everything.
So every great story has a beginning, right? The opening whistle. For Chobani, it all starts with Hamdi. He grew up on a dairy farm in Turkey, and the yogurt his mom made was, the real deal. So when he came to the US in the 90s, he was just unimpressed, to put it lightly.
The problem was pretty simple. On one side, you had what American yogurt was at the time, super sweet, kind of watery, and just boring. But on the other side was what Hamdi knew yogurt could be, what he remembered. Thick, creamy, with a complex, balanced taste. He just knew he could make something so much better.
And then, boom, the call to adventure. It's 2005, and he's flipping through some mail and spots this little ad for a closed-down craft yogurt factory, fully equipped for sale. Now, most people would see a failure, right? A closed factory. But Hamdi, he saw an opportunity. He saw his home stadium.
Okay, so having the vision is one thing, but actually buying a factory? That's a massive leap of faith, especially when literally everyone around you thinks you're crazy. This was the moment he had to cross the threshold, go from just dreaming about it to actually doing it. His own lawyer basically put up 3 huge defenders to blot the goal. First, nobody knew what condition the factory was actually in. Second, and this is a big one, if a behemoth like Kraft couldn't make it work, why would a total newcomer succeed? And the biggest defender of all, where was he going to get the money? It seemed like a totally impossible shot.
But Hamdi saw an opening. He lined up for a free kick, using something called the Small Business Administration Loan, or SBA loan. He whipped up a business plan in just 2 days, put up his own small cheese company as security, scraped together a 10% down payment, and somehow convinced a bank and the government to back the rest. Game on.
And get this, from the moment he saw that ad to holding the keys in his hand, just 5 months. That's how fast he moved. The game had officially begun.
But owning the stadium doesn't win you the championship. The most crucial piece was still missing, the product itself, the winning recipe. This kicked off an intense 18-month journey to get it just right.
He knew he couldn't do this alone, so he brought in a true expert, a yogurt master from Turkey named Mustafa Dogan. For the next year and a half, it was like they were in a training camp. We're talking endless experiments, tweaking cultures, fermentation times, temperatures, until finally, they nailed it. They had the perfect Chobani recipe.
And here's a really scrappy, clever move. To keep the lights on and pay the bills while they were perfecting their own recipe, you know what they did? They used the factory to make that boring, American-style yogurt for other companies. Just a brilliant way to fund the dream.
Now, even with money being so tight, Hamdi knew that how the product looked was almost as important as how it tasted. He invested a wild amount, $250,000 just on the packaging. He created this unique European-style cup that was wide and short, totally different from anything else on the shelf. It just screamed premium.
All right, the product is perfect. The packaging is a knockout. The team is ready. Now comes the moment of truth, the ultimate test. It's time to reveal Chobani's totally unconventional, game-changing playbook.
The whole strategy really boiled down to 3 brilliant plays. First, they didn't go to some specialty health food section, no, they went right into the main dairy aisle, side by side with the giants. Second, they couldn't afford the crazy fees to get that shelf space, so they negotiated a deal to pay them later out of their sales. And third, they priced it to be an affordable luxury, so they could start making a profit after selling just 20,000 cups a week.
So, did it work? Oh yeah, it was an explosion. A few weeks after they launched, an order came in for 5,000 units. Hamdi said he had to double-check because he thought it was a typo for 500. Right away, he knew his biggest problem wasn't going to be selling yogurt, it was going to be making enough of it.
When you have that kind of overnight success, the big money investors start circling like sharks. The scouts come calling, wanting to sign you to a big league contract. And this was Chobani's next big test. Would they take the money and cash in, or would they stay independent?
And this quote just tells you everything you need to know about Hamdi's thinking.
He looked right past all those dollar signs and asked a really simple question. What else are you bringing to the table? He realized they brought cash, sure, but they also brought an agenda that could destroy his vision for the company.
So he was really looking at two totally different futures. The investor path? That probably meant a quick push for profits, then selling the company to a food giant in 5 years and losing everything that made Chobani special. But his path, the Chobani path, meant putting the mission first, protecting the long-term vision, and staying in control. He chose the mission.
By sticking to his guns, Hamdi didn't just win, he secured Chobani's victory. But as any real champion will tell you, winning the title is one thing. Building a legacy that lasts, that's a whole different game.
You have to hear this story about the competition. So when giants like Dannon and Yoplait finally got around to making their own Greek yogurts, Hamdi tried them, and he honestly thought he got a bad batch. That's how terrible they tasted. The competition was so weak, he canceled a $7 million ad campaign he had planned to defend his turf. He realized he didn't even need it. The product would speak for itself.
And that victory has grown to an unbelievable scale. After reinvesting over $700 million of its own money to expand, Chobani now cranks out more than 2 million cups of yogurt every single week, all without taking a dime from outside investors.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that a truly great product is your ultimate competitive advantage. Chobani is just proof that if you have a clear vision, a creative strategy, and you absolutely refuse to compromise on quality, any underdog can step onto the field and completely change the game.
And that brings us to the final question, the one that Hamdi himself is trying to figure out right now. Once you've won the championship, what's next? How do you build a legacy that lasts forever? How do you make a company immortal? It just goes to show you the game is never really over.